Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast presents Sticks and Stones, a folk horror discussion. My name is Sean.
I am Anthony the Straw Man.
I'm John.
And I'm Missy.
Wait, did you say you're Mitzi?
Missy.
No. I couldn't resist. After you sending me texts about how you wanted Mitzi to die,
I did want Mitzi to die.
as I think we all did. We're going to talk about a film today from 1977. Five affluent 70s doctors do what affluent men do in the 70s, and that's stick their nose where it doesn't belong, fish out of water, go into the wilderness, and get picked off one by an invisible foe. John, this is your pick. Talk to us, tell us the name of the movie and everything you know about it in under 15 seconds. Go. Just kidding. Take your time.
Sure. Rituals, 1977 Canadian horror film. I categorize it as a folk horror film directed by Peter Carter, starring Hal Holbrook, Lawrence Dane.
Damn.
That work?
Well done.
Now in editing, I'm going to slow that down by like 15%. It'll be like,
Sure, Rituals 1977 Canadian horror film. I categorize it as
Sticks and Stone. No. So
I used to do that with podcasts all the time, especially like some of the recurring gags on Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith. If anyone remembers what the jingle for HBO headlines was, imagine that done super fast or super slow. And
give me some give me some headlines, right?
yeah.
I loved the Amanda Bynes theme song. Oh my God, those were great. Anyway, okay. Wow, that takes me back. It's been a long time. So, okay, so Sticks and Stones. So, John, talk about this movie. What made you pick it? When did you see it first? What do you like about it? Everything. This is going to be a full spoiler discussion, as Sticks and Stones always is. If you've not seen this movie, it is on Prime.
This is a film that I had heard about for quite a while and just never got a chance to see it. I saw this during the pandemic. Scarecrow Video, which over 300,000 titles for rent. And they have like
Wow.
a Criterion section where they sell like almost everything available in the Criterion collection for sale. You can buy on Blu-ray or DVD. They just advertise. They got everything from porn to silent experimental films, and everything else in between. Films from every country you can imagine, and it's just the largest selection of videos for rental on the West Coast. It was my church when I lived in Seattle, and during the pandemic, what they did was, in order to stay open, and because they knew they had a loyal fan base that was itching for films to watch that you couldn't get on streaming, you would be able to phone and order in and pick it up at this little window they had. And I did that several times a week with them, and just so many things. It was great to catch up on, and so many things that I was seeing for the very first time. So I was just kind of in one of those moods. I watched mostly horror during the pandemic because, it was like the only thing that I felt was keeping me sane and level-headed.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I've never seen Rituals, and I've heard about it for a while. I can't really find it on any streaming channel. So I decided to rent it. I watched it and I just found it like just completely like I just found it like a mesmerizing experience. And I felt like, you were just like on a raft with no paddles going down the rapids from River Wild with Meryl Streep, and you couldn't get off. And you're just slipping slowly into darkness until the very end. And I thought about it. I had really not much desire to really do much, with it, in the ways of picks for horror vision or for elements, but it was always in the back of my head. And then I realized to myself, you know what? This is a folk horror film. This is a folk horror film because it's a Canadian film, relatively low budget. By the way, just a really quick show of hands. Who here watched the version on Amazon Prime? Okay, you
I
all
did.
watched. Yeah, you all watched Amazon Prime. So did I. So the version you watched, no doubt, was not very well cleaned up, and
No.
No, it was
uh,
dark.
yeah, they're dark. The original scratches and pops,
Yep.
and which, by the
Yes.
way, I love that shit. I really
So
do.
do I.
I like
I
that too.
yeah, I love that kind of experience you get with it. I don't recall that because the version I watched from Scarecrow was probably a DVD that they might have cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, whatever they did with Amazon Prime, it was a far cry from your original Messiah of Evil experience, Sean. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. So anyway, back to the film. So yeah, this is essentially a Canadian deliverance, but I think what was interesting is that they're all doctors. They're all men of science, and it really foregrounds this nature and forces of nature that are outside of their realm of understanding, comprehension, and ability to cope with, despite being uh, scientists that are highly regarded in their fields and save lives for a living, or in some cases don't. And I looked at this and I looked at that. Really like how some of those themes get foregrounded in this film, and I thought, wow, this is a reminder that this is of what the foundation of folk horror is, and that we need not have a witch that lives in the woods or a pagan cult on an island off the coast of Scotland.
Yeah. Well said.
I think the thing of nightmares for me is the caduceus staff
Yep.
that created out of a stag and a snake, just impromptu as a work of symbolism. That has been the thing of my nightmares for ever since I first saw it, and remains to this very day. And I'm happy to share that nightmare with you all this evening.
That's what it's all about, right? Nightmares.
Hmm.
I had a feeling if you had not seen this earlier, that you had seen it for the first time during the pandemic, because when I met you, to once again reference, having you on the first time for Messiah of Evil, I believe at the concluding, I don't know if it's in the actual episode, if it was as we were talking before hanging up, you mentioned rituals, and I didn't know what it was, and I looked it
Mm.
up, and it was in the back of my mind, or maybe I don't I don't remember if it was then, like shortly thereafter, on Shutter, and I caught it on Shutter TV in the middle of the night. That's how I remember it, because I remember picking it up like not from the beginning, close to the beginning, 10 minutes in, something like that. And this is that movie John was talking about, and just being fucking mesmerized. So I 100% agree.
Mesmerized, and it's also just very minimalist. It has like this almost like
That's why.
near documentary feel in so many parts. I was like, I'm watching it this time around. I was like, yep, this is the original Blair Witch Project, only good.
Yeah, I mean it's a great way to say it. Um, Anthony, had you seen this before?
I had never even heard of it before, and no, it's really cool to sit down and watch this the other night. I threw it on Sunday evening. Everybody in LA is post World Series, whatever. But yeah, go Dodgers. But yeah, I sat down and I watched this for the first time the other night, and you're greeted with this like these gorgeous landscapes of like, what is it it's supposed to be? It's Canada, but it's supposed to be the Alaskan wilderness, I believe, the Alaskan
No,
interior. Where is it?
uh, it's Northern Ontario.
It's
It's
Northern Ontario. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. I like the mythos behind, like, what was it called, Moon Valley, where the I guess the legend was that the moon had crashed into the earth there and created this beautiful landscape.
Yeah,
Yeah, the cauldron.
the
Yeah,
cauldron, yeah.
and it's gorgeous. But like you said, John, it does feel it gives you that raw Blair Witch esque style of filmmaking. You see them get down into the brush, and it's almost as if just like when the doctors arrive in the area and everything is no, there's no brush cleared. There's it's very thick and dense, and you can tell the filmmakers went through the same thing when they got there. And they're like, holy shit, this is thick. How are we
Nice.
going to get through this? How are we going to make this work? But it also makes it that much more suffocating as far as, the outside world that they're trapped in. And man, it was just intense. And much like John said earlier, and I was thinking about this actually on my drive today, about it's so amazing to see how these men of science are now actually starting to wonder if they're in a quasi purgatory or almost hell because of the mistakes that they made
Yeah.
earlier on in their career, where they start to abandon, the idea of there just being some psycho in the woods or what have you. And they really start feeding into their paranoias. And that's where the movie really takes off for me. And when they start infighting and it just goes from there, it's breathtaking, man. The acting is superb, and just watching these guys drop one by one, it's awful how some of them go out too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really did enjoy it. First time watch, I sat through it in its entirety. I was able to get through it, from start to finish, and just a fantastic film. Terrifying at times, and even though I've have a little bit of like camping experience and stuff, it's interesting to see what happens when the most simplest and minute pieces of like equipment goes missing, how everything is turned on its head. It's the same thing where if somebody went out into, again, like the Alaskan interior, and you don't have a ferro rod or something that can start fire, you're fucked. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
do at this point. And yeah, so when they start missing things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and you start seeing this downturn, it's pretty intense. But I enjoyed the hell out of this flick. I really did. I'm so glad that I watched it, and I had some puzzled looks a couple different times, but I'm very happy to say I watched this. I went hunting it down. I was like, okay, somebody has this on Blu-ray, and unfortunately, I think it was a Vinegar Syndrome, and it's long out of print now. Um, and it goes for like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, well, I have the cheesy pictures version on
It's like
Amazon.
Scorpion
Is
releasing.
it
Is that it?
Scorpion releasing? Is that what it
Yeah.
was?
Yeah. And the
So it's
cover
like
I
Code Red and Scorpion,
recognized.
right?
Yeah. So, John, I even wonder if that's what you saw because, yeah, the version on Prime is rough. It's not as bad as that Messiah of Evil that was originally on there, but like, I mean, the first thing I heard audio wise, it sounded like a record pop. Like within the first minute, I was like, "Holy shit!" And then
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
all the grain, the scratches, and stuff like that. One of my notes is like, somebody should clean this up. I don't mind any of that stuff, but where I
No,
have trouble
I don't
is
mind.
there's a couple. What is it? There's right after the whole, they're chanting like, "Put us back together again, Harry," with the first night where they're drinking and they set up their camp,
Yeah.
right? It cuts to like pitch dark and something's happening. I'm like, I don't know. Like literally, I can't see anything at all. It's literally just pitch dark screen, and you can see there's like an image there, but I'm like, there's no way to even see what's there.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that,
I don't mind any of it. I really like it, but I guess to your point though, I would generally prefer to experience something like that at a place like the New Bev, but
Yeah,
where that's kind of par for the course. But
yeah,
yeah,
fair.
yeah, I can see why it would frustrate some people.
I mean, I don't mind the artifacts. I like that, but I definitely when it's the when I can't see what's clearly been put on screen, then I'm like, okay, that we might need to clean this up a little bit because that's the black. There's a technical term for that. I don't know if it's crush or something like that, but like it's really rough. And there's a couple other scenes where I felt like, what am I looking at? Like I can't, I
Hmm.
just cannot see what they're telling me something, and I don't know what it is, which might like lead to some of my eventual frustrations. Missy, had you seen this before?
No, I'd never heard of it either.
What do
This
you think? How was your viewing?
um and I watched the same copy as you, and there are points where it's so dark I can't really see what's going on. But I mean, overall, I, mean, I I have a weird relationship with the whole folk horror thing. I continue to be perplexed by it. And whenever I pop on these occasionally, if you guys pick something that sounds interesting, like I think I'm trying to understand what folk horror is. But I watched this and it was all right. It was cool. It held my attention. It was a little bit slow in the beginning, but it I mean it just feels like what I would have always called like hillbilly horror or something. It like Deliverance or Wrong Turn, and I never would have even thought of those as folk horror. Um, but the movie itself was, I mean, it was cool. I love the scenery.
Yeah.
Like the scenescapes and everything are really cool. And I love the that crazy shot they do where they're floating the guy down the river and you're
Oh,
looking at it from the top. Like that was awesome.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad I watched it. Um, I I don't get why. I mean, would Wrong Turn be considered folk horror? What makes this folk
I've never
horror?
seen Wrong Turner. If I actually I probably did see the first one, but it was so long ago I don't remember it. So John, I'll let you field that if you've seen it.
I can't. I haven't seen
Okay.
it. So
Anthony?
I don't think it is. I think it's more like akin to like Hills Have Eyes, and even that goes, back to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it's just, isolated family that kills
Backwoods.
out of towners. Yeah. So I wouldn't call it folk horror. It's kind of like a sub of the slasher genre, in my opinion.
So what makes this one folk horror?
John,
John?
yeah, you'd be better suited to answer that one.
I'm asking all of you.
Okay.
yeah. Well, as I said before, I mean, it's like the I think it's like foregrounding the primitive. It's like, the civilized versus the primitive becomes like, I think, central to any folk horror story. Um, and this just does it in a very raw form. Um, and also we don't get like any explicit references to indigenous people in this film, but we do kind of have um as we talked about the crater and like the how that might have imbued this landscape, with some sort of otherworldliness, even though the person is kind of the person behind this, all of this turns out to be a human being, and also a war veteran, and but just and so it's really just kind of like the whole um men of science versus primitive nature, I think makes
Right.
for me makes it a folk horror.
I could see that. I think it's 40% folk horror, 60% backwoods. But the thing I think that makes this folk horror is basically riffing on what John just said. It's they go to this place that has a folklore about it. And so when things start happening, and because of them, we start assuming it's based on whatever this folklore is. And then it's not, right? It's just very abruptly, nope.
Malevolent nature, and also the whole I wouldn't call it like 100% folk horror. I mean, there's psychological horror blended with folk horror, and just um the whole notion of like the hunter, the forest hunter being like, just a recurring folk horror figure that we get from, native people of the United States and Canada, really comes into play here. And yeah, the primal force of nature, and because the group's, not just being hunted by a human, but for a while, they kind of make it out to be the sort of primal force that's tied to the location.
Right.
No, no, and the only other thing I would say is like so it's you get this clash between sort of what is primal that's coming to get them and what's malevolent about nature clashing with all of these people who have some kind of past trauma of some kind or another that's linked to their scientific profession. They all like kind of talk about people not coming away from their practices in one piece.
Hmm. I thought this was really interesting. I read that they filmed this in chronological order.
I
And
believe that.
so they went through all of this. Like this isn't quite like on a sorcerer level, right? But there's an element of that where they progressively deteriorated, and that kind of dovetails with what Anthony said, and I had not picked up, but I guarantee you're right. When they got there as a film crew, they were like, "Oh shit," and it informed the way that they went about filming it because it was not easy, right? So I thought that was really interesting. Um, 1977, Deliverance is 72. It's clearly made because of that, but I think it's better. Um, this is directed by Peter Carter and written by Ian Sutherland. Really not familiar with either gentleman. They both previously worked together, I believe, on High Point. And produced by Lawrence Dane. I really like this film. The characters are very interesting because I don't know that I like any of them, but I'm still 100% like just really there with them. You feel it, and I think it has something to do with the way they shot it chronologically. Like by the time you get to them carting that dude on the raft, and then just the whole they get to that point where there's been the fire. And it reminded me a little bit of Sorcerer, where there's like it's almost like a fucking different planet. It looks like, right? Um, the barren nature. Uh,
Just with the bear trap under the water
the
and like
bear trap, the bear traps under
we're
the water.
waiting for that.
And I had a really interesting rewatch because I swear I've this is the third time I've seen this movie, and both the other two times were like a late at night kind of thing. I could have swore that one of the five friends was behind all of it. So I was like, wait, it can't be DJ because he disappears so early. I'm like, it can't, that's so obvious. So then like near the end, I'm like, it's gotta be Dane, right? It's gotta be Mitzi. And I had completely well, another thing is I think I watched this and The Final Terror for the first time, like real close together. Great, that would be a great double feature, by the way. But I think I was like confusing the end of Final Terror with this. But when it got to the reveal, I was like, oh my God, I don't remember this at all. I will say, I don't know that I feel like I'm fine with it. And I kind of like the technique of just like, nope, it's just this random person out there that there's absolutely no setup for whatsoever. But at the same time, I almost feel like that's so weird. Like I don't know, like why? How did he know? Unless I missed something, so please tell me. How did he know they were coming? How did he know they were doctors? How did he know what route they would take? Like it's so weird.
It's
It's
utterly
super
convenient.
threw, yeah, it super threw me off too.
I
Because
mean,
he's leaving X-rays, and I mean, I don't remember seeing anything where why he would know they were doctors either.
John, is there something that we missed that you're familiar? I'm wondering if there's something in the first like 10 minutes that I missed, just somehow.
I'd have to go back, and see if there's if Blind James or this guy shows up in there, but I don't think so. And it's always one of those things where if there's one issue I have with this film, that would be it. But at the same time, it is always one of those things that touches upon some, at least in part, on a societal thing that I think a lot of people fear the most because, so many serial killer films are preoccupied with what is the motive of the person who did it? What
Yes.
is the motivation of the person that did it? And the most terrifying thing, would be a serial killer that really has no motive. He just sort of felt like killing, and he just sort of felt like, someone just needed to die. And that's it seems like that's what we have here, except that's there. It's sort of linked more to. Uh, it seems like there's some war trauma that's kind of fueling his like he's a World War II veteran and who's has gone insane and just completely become a hermit in the woods. Um, that's also sort of one of the things, and just anyone, any of our listeners out there that are Canadian will know this, and or people spend significant time in Canada, just there's like a lot of horror and horror stories, surrounding, people, the hermits up in what is known as cottage country that will just disappear people, and
Hmm.
this is something you kind of get to some extent in European horror, but in a lot of Canadian local legends, you'll get this. So um, they could have fleshed it out a little bit more, but it's also at the same time one of those situations where it's like I'm not 100% convinced that sort of adding on this sort of extra layer of exposition is a solution here.
No, I agree. And it's actually more terrifying how it stands. I don't have a problem with it being the randomness. It's just the whole thing, like, I don't understand how he knew. That's like and maybe he didn't, I mean, you see the image in the silhouette in the distance, and I mean, what a great opening move. Steal their boots. Holy
Yeah.
fuck. That's terrifying. Like Ben Wheatley reuses that in Into the Earth. So that was, I feel like maybe I saw that around the same time or whatever, but I forgot that it was in this first. But man, that's a good opening move. You're gonna fuck with people in the wilderness, take their boots. Damn.
I'm curious if any of you have read Stephen King's Danse Macabre
Mm-mm.
before. Yeah, it's
He
his.
talks about this. I know that.
I have.
Yeah, yeah. He actually talks about this briefly in Danse Macabre. He quite likes this film. Um, and yeah, given some of his other stories, yeah, you can kind of see why, especially looking at his short stories.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a long time since I read it, and I mean, I apparently forgot all about this movie because I didn't know it, but
Mhm.
I do remember him talking about it briefly.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how we have this clash. Well, much like the definition of folk horror, we have this clash with the past and modernity. Um, you, it's interesting how they introduced this World War II veteran who is a different form of the past, and I think it adds to the malevolent force of its surroundings, and it's just I think it's interesting how they use that character, but I also admit to myself at times when I was trying to figure it out at the end, obviously the whole, you know, X-ray thing and whatnot, I thought that was uh quite odd, but I did enjoy the relationship between the two brothers. That's only explained very briefly because the, what's the blind guy's name? Is it Bob? Blind Bob? He
The-
what
I
was it?
thought it was
Jesse?
Jesse.
Yeah,
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
Jesse,
Jesse.
yeah, blind Jesse Spano. Anyway, he goes, he he tells him like get out of here, and then when he starts to explain like what he is, and then eventually gets down to he's not like us anymore, which kind of elevates him to I, I don't know how to put it into words, but it elevates him to something almost supernatural.
Like a Wendigo figure almost.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's how I felt about how he was able to, you know, move through the film as that character, this malevolent force. I thought that was pretty awesome. I really liked. Anyway, that was my takeaway. That's how I felt. That's what I felt about that character. But of course, it does seem a little bit odd, and you have to start to ask, well, maybe this just was budgetary. Like we have to wrap this up. How are we going to do it? And this is the way to do it. Um, and then just the ritualistic burning of somebody at the stake, which I thought
Yeah.
was an I thought it was an odd addition to the film. But at the same time, again, it goes back to what John said as far as like those initial just primal needs in nature. Gotta burn this.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I like this movie a lot, and I would like to see it again to pick it apart. And just to touch on something else that we talked about earlier regarding like the grain in the film, I feel that grain actually accentuates the density of the exterior that the doctors are in, and makes it that much more uh, suffocating. So I like that aspect to the movie. I'm glad that it wasn't cleaned up too much. And as far as the scenes that were too dark, I like the idea of not knowing what was out there.
Good point. Good point. Just storytelling wise, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be taking something away from those scenes.
That's fair. I can see that.
But maybe that's what I was supposed to be taking away is not knowing, right? So yeah, that's a very interesting point. I like what you said about adding to the gravity. Is that how you said it?
The density.
Density. I like that a lot. It definitely adds to it. It also conjures watching horror movies as a child at, I don't know, 12:30 on UHF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I really want to watch UHF with Weird Al.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Great fucking movie. Anyway,
Something else I thought was odd was how fast they turned on each other. Like they didn't even really entertain the thought that it was and some outside force or some outside like indigenous people or whatever fucking with them. They immediately thought it was their friend who brought them out there.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and you know
like
what?
were they
I
even really friends to begin with?
Yeah, no,
yes.
I like how they made them not it's very 70s in that regard. It's where, it's like you have this circle of friends and you don't have to make them uh one entirely friendly 100% towards each other or even entirely likable for that matter to make them compelling. The whole idea that they all have to be likable, is a very 80s thing, very late 80s thing.
Yeah.
They were they trusted this friend or frenemy or whatever enough to go out to the middle of fucking nowhere with him, but then they all turned on each other at like immediately.
Yeah.
It just felt odd.
I think it has a lot to do with the boots. I really like that's really like kind of akin to, the whole everybody, I've known the shower scene from Psycho my whole life from cultural, regurgitation, right? It's just in the collective unconscious. But it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I heard somebody explain like that's like the most vulnerable. That's so vulnerable. A person is so, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like I just taken it at face value, but like there's a deeper thing going on there. And the boots in the wilderness, that's wow, that's huge. Like that will set people on end. But also, yeah, I mean, they're friends, but what, they went to med school together? That doesn't necessarily mean they're like friends. You know what I mean? Like, and definitely I feel
Then
like
why are you in the middle of the wilderness
because they have
trusting your
money
life with
and
these
they
people?
have money and they want to get away from their lives or whatever. So that's just their social thing. They just do it because they can, because they're doctors, right? And it's like, oh, relive the glory days or whatever. It's not even reliving the glory days. It's just a social thing built out of circumstance and privilege, and privilege is the wrong way to say it, but I mean they just have the money to do it. So they talk about where we go next year. Oh, that place you brought us last year. They pick out of the way places and they take their friends there. And I liked when DJ was like, "I told you all you had to bring was, I forget what it was. There's two things. One thing I can't
Toothbrushes
remember
and shoes.
what was the first thing?
Toothbrush and an extra pair of shoes.
Yeah, they couldn't even do that.
I Xeroxed it to you.
Yeah. I sent you a Xerox. Oh my God. Anthony.
Oh yeah, it was just interesting how you look at the different ties between the different doctors, and obviously we have our main character getting into it with DJ early on in the film, even before they left, and then obviously that first night where they talk about ethics and whatnot, and you start to, I think it's interesting how now you get down to an ethics conversation later in the film where they want to carry this guy down the raft and down river, upriver, what have you. And then later when they find DJ, instead of trying to save him, much like, the other fella, he instead decides to use a different set of ethics here and mercy kill him, if you want to call it mercy killing at all, because it looked like the guy could have been saved. But that aspect I found perplexing, but then I just have to bring it back to, well, he it seemed like he just never liked the guy from the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, and then going back as far as like reasoning as to why they went out there, I know there's much like the ritual. 2017 is the ritual where they have a deceased friend and they all go out to the woods and do what they do. There's a brief conversation in this about a friend of theirs, a very close friend of theirs, who committed suicide.
Yeah.
And that kind of Mitzi and him kind of go back and forth about, you weren't there, did you even hear how they found him, and basically about him not caring. And I also wondered whether or not that was one of the things, like maybe it was tradition that they decided to carry on after, their friend had died. Um, but yeah, that, like I said, as far as the conversation of ethics goes, I thought that was an interesting topic to bring up, and then to see how it's used in varying circumstances.
Was it okay? So I seem to remember an early conversation about a friend, but wasn't I? And maybe I'm just confusing the two. Was a large part of the conversation I thought was about Hal Holbrook's father?
There was that. Yeah, there was that as
Okay, so
well.
it was two different. It was two
Yeah.
different instances. Okay. Because I know there's that, like Mitzi he kind of hangs it over his head that he was there for his dad when he wasn't, right? I mean, or was that the friend?
Uh, uh, he did say that he was there for his father also. Yeah.
Okay, because then at some point Holbrook, and I really liked his performance in this. I like when he's like, I don't need you to remind me. I made a mistake and wrote him off, and it was a mistake. I think about, it's like
Yeah.
I did I don't know. I really liked that as like kind of getting to the heart of their issue because they seem to be the tightest, but also there's conflict there as well. They're like kind of like it feels like Mitzi is looking out for him, trying to get him to come work where he works early on, But then at the same time, I definitely feel like there's, I don't know, and they give him shit about his own, what is it? Isn't it the opposite of him mercy killing DJ is, don't they give him shit about like saving people who are basically, you save them in their vegetables? Like, why would you bother? Or am I
Yeah.
reversing that?
Yeah. No, I remember that conversation. I
Okay.
think he goes, yeah, you're just creating another vegetable or what have you. Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough scene when they get to the dam, and you're kind of you're hoping for hope at this point.
Yeah, right.
And when you get there and you see it's just dilapidated and there's nobody there, and then eventually, they find DJ, it's just
Boy, and the head on a stick too, right? Like, oh,
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. There's
Just
that.
pick it up and just javelin into the
I
gorge.
know. Like,
What else do you do?
guys, if we're ever somewhere and I disappear and you find my head on a pole, just throw me into the nearest canyon. It's fine.
Got it, buddy.
Please. Don't carry my head back, you know.
I won't make a bindle out of it.
It's really weird. It's like I'm not allergic to bees, but for some reason I've always been, terrified of bees. Maybe it's just because, at a really young age I saw a movie about killer bees. And yeah, this the bee scene was not the most terrifying thing about this film, but yeah, it was up there. It definitely gave me, frisson that made my skin crawl.
Well, and you imagine being in that situation, and as they're like jumping, basically jumping off of that, like it's not really like a precipice per se, but they end up roll. I mean, it's inevitable somebody's breaking their neck, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
looking at it happening. It's like this is definitely where the first body comes,
They use real
and
bees, right?
Well,
I
in
mean,
the
they had to
70s, it's
be.
like they
I would think
had to
so.
be. I mean, the one way that I could think of it is just using the same uh, techniques of focus pulling that they used in Lord of the Rings for like scaled Oberlin force perspective, where they just have the bees swarming around more in the foreground and
Oh,
using a telephoto lens to make the actors in the background look closer to the bees than they actually are. Like that's all I can think of, but no CGI, practical effects, and voila, you got people in a swarm of bees.
Because I imagine that conversation. It's like, look, there's going to be fucking bees. Okay, like get ready.
although, so the initial with the nest or the hive, it's bees, right? But the way they film the rest of it, theoretically, it could have been flies or something, right? Because it's not close. You just see shit flying around and they're
Yeah.
swatting at it, especially once they hit the
Mhm.
water, right? I mean, I kind of kept thinking like, and it's easy to say not being in that situation, but like maybe if you guys weren't flailing your arms everywhere, like, I don't know, it would have went over. And also like, I don't feel like anybody ends up with any bee stings. You know what I mean? Like Sleepaway Camp, notorious bee scene, right? I mean, it's a completely different mechanic to it. But I mean, you would think that there would have been some that you would think there would have been some repercussion other than just the one broke his neck, like somebody is like swelling in the face or got stung in the eye or something. I mean, it's not a criticism. It's just it's a. I feel like that as an attack is a little wonky, but because it comes right, I'm telling you, the more I think about it, the boots thing is just brilliant. Like, man, talk about fucking somebody up, dude. You're there for it's the first morning, so you've got another 5 days, and your boots are gone. Like, wow, talk about shitting on somebody's Sunday. Damn.
Hmm.
But the thing that I found the scariest is the bear traps. I have a weird phobia about bear traps, probably because I saw Silver Bullet too many times as a little kid. But like bear traps and fucking water, I don't like water either.
Oh,
Like
I
that
mean
whole
that's
Fuck
scene
water.
is incredibly uncomfortable, and like that one I thought was the scariest to me.
Well, it's so fucked up because they find that lifeline, and again, there's that hope dangling over you,
Right.
and then to find out that it's trapped, it's like, are you? This is fucking insidious. This is horrible.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucked up bit, but I mean, it works. It's incredibly effective, and obviously, it sets the coming events for the duration of the film as well. It's a great a great piece.
How do you train a chimpanzee to salute?
Fucking hell.
Oh man, I hope I'm. Yeah, I don't know, guys. If we're ever in that situation, just leave me, please. Don't. No matter what I say, just leave me. Like that's really rough. Like I like the way that's the psychological horror element, right? Where and they say it like he did this on, but he wounded us. He wounded one of us on purpose because he knew what it would do to the others, and it not only slows them down and creates all these problems, but also you get that really tense, like when they're carrying the stretcher, and Mitzi's like, "I'm not carrying him anymore. Fuck you, whatever." And Holbrook is, to quote Mitzi, the fucking hero, right? And he's just, "I'll just carry him myself." But at some point, it's like, dude, and then where does he stop? And he says something to, he's like, "I'll be back" or whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, he's dead." Like, how long has he even been carrying him that he's been dead, right? Like, that's completely insane. This the psychological wear and tear is unfathomable.
Yeah, it's that hope against hope, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I wondered for Holbrook's character if it was relieving in any sense when he, pulls the cross off and leaves it there and, promises to come back for him, knowing he's dead.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if there was a burden lifted at that point. But again, things get worse. So
Anything we've missed? Any final thoughts if we're at that point yet?
Um, yeah, no, my final thought is this was also part and parcel of like, you know, a deep dive on Canadian horror and also on survival horror. And I love Canadian horror. Survival horror, not that much, just because it's like, it's difficult for me to find some good films that make the genre feel fresh for me. But this film did. And, I was very happy to come back and revisit it for that reason. And, oh gosh, there was one other thing. Oh yeah, just sort of like the fact it's like, okay, what do another marker of 70s? Yeah, what do we do here? What do we do to just give him booze. Just
Oh,
keep
of course.
just
Yep.
keep plying him with liquor.
Yep. Yeah, it's very 70s, and it's everything about it is very well. And also, this is like there's that whole phenomena post 60s where white people were leaving cities because minorities were coming in mass. And it was just like return to nature kind of thing where, oh, we're going to move out to, you know, whatever, like this, rural area. And a lot of folk horror from that time expounds on that because it's like, I think it's twofold. It's like, okay, so as somebody creating horror stories, this is a new phenomena. There's like a movement, and so it presents it's a fresh opportunity, right? But also, I feel like whether or not some of these creators, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of like Thomas Tryon's like Harvest Home novel, which was also a TV movie, which I never saw. But I mean, so many more. Those are just that comes to mind because of this. But whether or not it was intended by the creators, the storytellers, it's also letting you know, like, hey, guess what? It's not minorities that are the problem. Like, the world's fucked up and people will kill you and do terrible things to you, whether you live in an apartment building in the Bronx or if you live in the fucking, backwoods of fucking wherever. So I think that's a very 70s thing too, is that like kind of the dark side of the return to rural whatever. I don't know. Missy, final thoughts?
Um, just that I mean, I I like seeing things that you guys consider folk horror that are different and that don't bore me to tears. So, I mean, It just felt like backwoods horror to me, but it was still a cool movie.
Well said. Anthony?
I just wanted to reiterate that I really enjoyed the film, and I hope people will give this a go. It is definitely not conventional, but I like where it goes, and yeah, I hope that our audience feels the same way. And just to know that, and no, in any particular surrounding, no matter how prepared you are, you're never safe. And I feel like a lot of people these days have that mindset and will find a way to relate to this film. So please watch.
Yeah, well said. I dug this movie a lot. Every time I've seen it, I've liked it more, and I highly recommend it. And John, I thank you for picking it.
No problem. My pleasure.
Excellent selection.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Sticks and Stones. This is the Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
I am Anthony, a guy floating down the river on a raft.
And I'm John.
And I'm Missy.
Mitzi?
Missy.
Ah, okay, just checking.
Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.